Welcome everyone to the first County Planning Board meeting in person since March of last year. Everyone here seems to be doing okay. Regarding masks, the CDC says if you're vaccinated outdoors, you do not need to wear a mask. You can if you wish. If you're not vaccinated, you should wear a mask, hopefully, since we are in a closed space. So I will call the June meeting of the County Planning Board to order. The next meeting dates, the next one is next Tuesday to go over the capital projects. You have some additional information in your daily package, and then the large, thick number of projects was in the email sent to you previously. Then we're meeting on Tuesday, July 6th, August 3rd, and September 14th. The 14th, I guess, is because of Labor Day. Okay, the adoption of the minutes. Does anyone have any corrections, additions?
My name is spelled wrong, so that's it. That's it.
Any other comments on the minutes? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected with Rob's name spelled right, please?
So moved.
Second? Rob, all in favor, raise your hands. Opposed? Thank you. Chairman's remarks. Norma, have we heard from Con Edison regarding their policy on trees?
No, we haven't.
It's been at least 6 months now since Con Edison came to our meeting, gave us a presentation. We had just approved for them cutting down trees on county property, and they said they would get back to us on their general policy of cutting trees down on municipal streets, and of course, they have not gotten back to us.
Richard, if it helps, I can make a call. We work with Con Ed a lot. In fact, they're scheduled to take down a large number of trees on the mountain by the reservation. And most of the trees are dead, but it's also because they keep knocking down power lines. And then the people are out of power, and then they're going crazy. So I will make a call and see if we can get an answer.
Does the planning board have to vote on the removal of those trees on county property? Isn't that what we did?
Parks Board does. Parks Board voted.
What was it we had to do on the
Bradford site is that's part of the old Pete Grassland site. That's general municipal land.
Okay. Maybe they'll hear from you at some point. Commissioner?
I do want to introduce, we do have an intern, Jacob Rosewater is here. He is a senior at Scarsdale High School, and he's been with me for 2 weeks now? Yeah, 2 weeks. And he's going to be here another 2 weeks at least, and may actually be hired by us for the summer. But he's been helping me put together our Census 2020 manual, the final what happened, and copies of things and everything else. So it's been great to have somebody to clear off the table in my office finally after a year and just put it all together and tell the story about, what we did and what happened and how we had to switch gears after the pandemic hit. So, and we are going to bring on a couple of interns for this summer because we're going to be working on an inventory of all the county bus stops. We want to get a real handle on which ones have accessibility issues, which ones have shelters, which ones, there's a lot of information that we have already, but we don't have it in any one place. And so that's what we're going to have a bunch of interns work on this summer to be able to really compile a good database for us about that. So as we get the other ones on board this summer, we will introduce them as well. But that's pretty much it. I mean, we're not 100% in the office yet with staff. We're probably about 21 or 22 people, so there's about 10 people on any given day that are working remotely. But it's been working. It's nice to see everybody back in the office to the extent that we are there. But it works, so that's it.
Speaking of databases, we were going to get a database on affordable housing.
It's on the website.
It is now on the website?
Yeah, it's been on the website for a while. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, please. I know you've been talking about doing it, it was complicated. And,
right, IT had to do some work to it, yeah.
Okay, referrals, ratification of actions taken by staff in response to planning and zoning actions referred to the County Planning Board April 15th, 2021 through May 15th, 2021. Any comments on any of those letters? No. Okay, can we have a motion to ratify the actions taken? Rob, can we have a second, please? James, all in favor, raise your hands, please. Opposed? Thank you. Matters for board action. BPL 30, new home land acquisition, 26 Garden Street, the City of New Rochelle, amendment to the Planning Board report on the 2021 capital project requests.
That's just
Len is going to do this. I'm not quite sure how, but
Hi, good morning. We're here for 26.
You're gonna have to
You're gonna have to speak up. John, do you want him in the middle?
If people are going to present, the best thing would be to go right to the, like around and right in the middle.
Right in the middle, Leonard. Thank you. It should be, the executive summary should be in your day of meeting folder.
So, is it better?
In the middle.
All right. So I should face? Okay.
We're all staring at you.
Yeah, I'll face the wrong way. So, good morning. This is for 26 Garden Street in the city of New Rochelle. It's a fair and affordable housing proposal.
Actually, I'm going to give a quick introduction for this. Your board did see this already, okay? If you remember, we started a discussion about this, but then we just realized that they hadn't gotten anywhere yet with New York State and their financing, and New York State had specifically requested that we not move forward with our financing, putting anything in place until New York State had worked out the details of what they would be looking for. And so there's a lot, based on the feedback and the discussion that we had, lenders collected a lot of information from the city and about what else is going on in this area, and they are now on New York State's schedule for financing to actually close next year. So, so we're going to have Leonard now take you through this development.
I just want to say that there is, since we don't have PowerPoint set up with a screen, I copied the PowerPoint presentation and it's in your packet, so if you want to follow along with Leonard, this is what the first page looks like.
And Norma, would you mind just telling us, once again, I know, the parameters of what we're supposed to look at and not look at, please?
So in this case, the planning board would be making a recommendation on the use of county funds. You make a recommendation to the board of legislators. You actually have to amend the capital budget report, okay, capital projects report, to include this address, okay, because it's a specific use of bond funds for a specific address.
Okay, so site plan things like that, we don't really.
It's not really, site plan is all local, okay? What the building looks like, how tall it is, parking spaces, all of that is really all local, up to the local municipality. And this development does have all of its local approvals. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, as Norma introduced, this is 26 Garden Street in the city of New Rochelle. The second page shows an elevation of the building, or the proposed building. It's this is the elevation of the residential building from Cottage Place. So this is a Cottage Place in a dead-end street. The location of the development is in the downtown area of the city of New Rochelle. As you can see on the location map, it's near I-95, the New England Thruway, Route 1, Hutchinson River Parkway, so it's well situated. The next slide shows the aerial view, which gives you a more in-depth view of where it's located in downtown New Rochelle. So just to give an idea, the big large box towards the middle bottom, where it says Planet Fitness, that's New Rock City. And the development's just above that. And then you can see to the left is Montefiore New Rochelle Hospital, the old Sound Shore Hospital.
Can you just hold up, each time you're talking about a slide, just hold it up so we know we're on the same slide?
Okay.
Thank you.
And then so the development itself, the actual, I'm switched now, next slide.
Thank you.
the total site is 1.12 acres. However, the development only sits on a piece of that site, as this is a multi-phase construction plan. The first phase, which is nearing completion, is the new construction of the new Westchester County New Rochelle branch of Family Court, which it's a 4-story structure. The Family Court occupies 2 out of the 4 stories right now. The second phase is the residential development, and the final phase in the future is the development of a medical office building. So it's a condominium structure with a total of 6 condominiums. The residential development will be one of the condos known as Unit 5. Unit 1 is the Family Court parking. Unit 2 is residential parking that's actually under the Family Court building. Unit 3 is the actual office space for the Family Court. Unit 4 is the vacant office space above the Family Court, and Unit 5 is the 186 affordable residential units, residential amenities, and 49 parking spaces. And the final Unit 6 is the future medical office and parking. So the actual development is, as I said, 186 rental units for families. It comprises of 34 studios, 102 one-bedroom units, and 52 bedrooms. There are 49 parking spaces in the residential condominium unit, 46 in the adjacent building, which is under the Family Court, and 46 shared spaces that can be used at night and on weekends. And then they bought out some spaces as part of their zoning approvals with the City of New Rochelle. Several of the spaces will also have electric charging capacity. The amenities on site include a community room, bike storage rooms, security office, property management office, laundry services, and a rooftop patio, which would include a passive landscape area as well as a children's play area. The design of the building meets the Energy Star multifamily new construction, NYSERDA, and Enterprise Green Communities. I'm on the affordability page. The varying affordability, it has 37 units at 50% AMI, including 7 studios, 21 bedrooms, 10 two-bedrooms, and then 149 units at 60% AMI, which has 27 studios, 82 one-bedrooms, and 42 bedrooms. The affordability period is 50 years, and the affordability percentage is about 58%. The HUD income limits are the next slide for 2021. These were just released in April for tax credit developments, which this is. And this just shows the income limits at the various, or the ranges of the incomes for the people that could live there. The proposed financing, which is the next slide, is they are seeking HFA bonds for the first mortgage, which will be approximately $21.5 million. And then they're seeking subsidy, 2 different subsidies from New York State, the new construction program and homes for working families. Those 2 comprise about $26.9 million. And then they're receiving, as of right, 4% low-income housing tax credits, which derive an equity of about $31.5 million. The county's new homeland acquisition would be for $5 million, or roughly $26,800 per unit, which is probably on the lower end of the scale for what we've been seeing. Some of which have been easily double that. The deferred developer's fee is about $6.2 million for a total development of just over $91 million, or about $490,000, which is in line with this type of development. Actually, it's a little lower than what we've seen on other similar developments in this. So Westchester County's new homeland acquisition is a portion of what they're proposing as a total acquisition of $6 million. So just to talk about the City of New Rochelle, we did have communications with the City of New Rochelle about this. And the city, although there are 2 affordable projects or developments right across the street from each other, 26 Garden, this one, and then 11 Garden Street, which was before you a couple years back. 11 Garden Street being under construction right now. The City of New Rochelle's feeling was that this is not a concentrated area, because the nearby development within a quarter mile includes new development of 3,400 market rate units that have either been completed, developed, or are going through the approval process right now. And some of those units are directly across North Avenue from the site on Burling Lane. There's actually three developments there, and then there's one starting demolition right there, and then there's another one up North Avenue. So there's quite a bit of market rate development. Also, the city is contributing $1 million towards the reconstruction of the thruway bridge that carries North Avenue. The reconstruction, the plans would improve traffic flows, improve conditions for cyclists, and make the area far more pedestrian friendly. They also have an award from the state of $10 million, the Downtown Revitalization Grant, which they propose also to use along North Avenue, make it one way from the train station to Lincoln Avenue, including separate bike lanes, new paving, sidewalks, lighting, pedestrian crossings, traffic and pedestrian signals, and new landscaping, including small parks that they will create. And those parks, 2 of them are at the corner of North Avenue and what is Burling Garden Street right now. So the next slide shows just the development which the city supplied. Shows the 3,800 market rate units within the quarter mile. And then the following slide is the planned streetscape improvements, also supplied by the city of New Rochelle. So you can see where Garden Street intersects with North Avenue and where Burling Lane. And then you can also see the site, a corner of the site, which is up in the upper right hand, which basically is the old picture, which has all the truck storage and whatnot on it, which does not exist today. So you can see the parks. There's a park, new parks on Garden Street on the bottom right, and then the triangle, and then a small area above the New England Thruway, and then across on the southern piece as well, in Burling Lane and North Avenue. And then the last slide, or second to last, sorry, is just an example of the pedestrian improvements made leading down to the train station. The little park that exists on Burling Lane that was done not that long ago, and then the nearby Library Green. So those are the main park areas, along with Lincoln Park, which you've seen from the Renaissance or 116 Guion when that was approved, which includes a pool, fields, basketball courts, etc., which is also within a short walk of the site. And the final is a different elevation. This elevation is from the Garden Street side, which shows the court, the family court building in the front, and then looking down Cottage Place, the residential tower behind it. The residential tower's entrance is on Cottage Place. The courts have their own separate entrance on Garden Street. And that pretty much concludes my presentation, so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Jimena, you're the New Rochelle representative. What's your feeling about this development?
Well, I disagree with the city's assessment that this is a concentrated
You
area.
have to speak up a little
Oh,
bit.
I'm sorry. I disagree with the city's assessment that this is not a concentrated area in regard to affordable housing. And I know that there's been a lot of public comment in regard to this. I do think that it's positive, what they're trying to do in regard to having more green space. But I was curious about the square footage of the green space that they're constructing compared to the development, because some of the spaces that are already there, it's true that it's a green space, but it's very small. I mean, it's half the size of where we're sitting. So I agree, there's a green space, but how many people are going to be able to utilize it?
These are more what they call parklets. So there's small areas of green space. They are basically designed to accommodate not much of, not that much,
Speak up.
but also basically to add greenery to that North Avenue corridor, to the intersection right now, which has basically is not very pretty, pretty much unsightly. So this would beautify that intersection.
Yeah, so I agree, it's gonna look pretty, but it's in regard to having green spaces for the amount of people that are going to be living there when they're right next to a highway. So maybe something can be done.
Two things One is 26 Garden includes its own green space on the roof, which would include a children's play area. And then 11 Garden has its own outdoor plaza as well. So they do accommodate their own, within their own developments. But yes, and then the parks-wise, Lincoln Park would be the closest in terms of major recreation.
Anyone? Yeah, Bernie?
Will these green spaces have benches around them, or they're just greenage?
I believe the plan would be to have some benches, much like they have on, there's a little parklet on Berlin Lane right now, which has, I think, 2 or 3 benches right now.
Leonard, in the 11th Anthony Zano, planning, on 11th Garden Street, the plaza is really, I believe it's the Rochelle property, but there's seating area with that. It's a nice little, it's an urban green space. But as Leonard mentioned, there's 12,000 square feet of essentially outdoor space. It happens to be on the roof of the building, but it's going to be park-like, there's going to be benches, there's going to be play equipment. So for the tenants in this building, they have the convenience of just going upstairs and being outside. Right, it's an urban environment, but like many of the other developments, there's not much opportunity. And I think with this one, with a 12,000 square foot roof height, actually, it's a great use of that space. But it happens to be, you'll be up nice and high above the urban area. So in this project, they have some actual usable planned space. That doesn't happen on some of the market. They may have some, but that's for affordable housing. I think it's good.
Most of the market rate doesn't have that kind of amenity.
Right. That's an incredible amenity.
Any other
Do you know what
comments?
they estimate in regard to the number of children that they expect to be in these buildings?
I don't have that number. I can probably get it from either the developer or the city of New Rochelle.
I do find it interesting that whole list of projects, there must be 20 of them on the map. There's only 2 that are 100% affordable.
Right.
And they're also neck and neck, they're right near each other,
Exactly.
which I think we discussed it one time before.
Everyone else is like 10% or
Right, and they
whatever.
were putting these buildings directly in the same market area, not putting them on opposite ends of New Rochelle. So it's directing people to one specific area, which I think is,
So, I mean, I think that is not the best situation, but these are important to get affordable housing built in its general downtown location is a good location. I
Right.
mean, it's walking distance to everything. And it is affordable housing getting built, so that's the plus. The negative is that we've got 2 right across the street from each other, and what is it going to take to keep that from being seen as a location that is only for people who have lower and moderate incomes, and the fact that it's right butting up, I assume the building is actually butting up against the family court building.
They touch each other,
That's
yes.
sort of another sort of indication of putting something that relates to a particular population in one location.
is that an add-on, that courthouse? I think the last time we spoke about this particular area, there was no courthouse involved.
No, the courthouse
Was
is
it involved already?
the same property, it's the same property
Same
owner.
scope?
The buildings are touching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right.
and the
And
courthouse
in
is
fact,
now built.
they're interlinked because some of the parking for the residential's underneath the courthouse, et cetera. So it's all separate ownership by condominium structure, but they're basically interlinked, and then they have common maintenance, things like that each condo unit would provide into.
If it's possible to make also a recommendation, the last time the developer was here, they didn't want to put security. They just wanted to have cameras, that would monitor, unlike other
That was
buildings.
the 11 Garden Street development.
That was the
not
other
this
one on the other side with the domestic violence apartments are in the other one.
But I think with this one, there was a similar issue, that if it's possible also to mention that it is important to have a person who's there, at the lobbies.
This one does have provisions for that. It even has
Good.
its own separate
Leonard, you gotta
security.
speak up.
It even has its own separate security office
Good.
So that does have provisions, plus the family court has security as well.
Where is the family court now?
It's in
It was in
downtown.
New Rochelle, it
Yeah.
closed,
Oh,
and so that's why it was, they felt it was important to reestablish it in New Rochelle.
It's a New Rochelle branch, so there's different branches in Westchester County.
Did you say that the parking would be shared with the court?
Yes.
A portion of the parking
Going
is
to be
shared.
How would it be segregated between the two? Is there
Well,
possibly a fence or something inside, or is there a barrier?
Possibly, there's parking underneath the building that's reserved for the residents. Then there's reserved parking underneath the courthouse that would be reserved for residents. And then there's a component of shared also underneath the courthouse. So those shared spaces would not be blocked off because those could be used on weekends, holidays, and also off hours for residents.
And the 9 to 5 would be for the commercial
Right,
building itself.
9 to 5, so after 5, before 9, residents would use those spaces.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest concern about this is the air quality. And, I mean, I guess it's a concern for all of downtown New Rochelle. I mean, it's just sad to me that we're putting, you know, to Jimenez's point, that we're putting children, theoretically, we're putting children, you know, within a 500-foot range of in the most populated interstate highway in America, with a lot of truck traffic. I mean, I think it's important that we have affordable housing, though. I feel like this is like one of those things where you gotta vote for it to get the affordable units, but it's not the greatest thing in the world. So that's it.
I think we had two concerns with having the building all affordable, and one we've talked about. The other was that this should not take away the 10% requirement on the other market rate units, because I think there was some discussion from New Rochelle that this building would then alleviate the requirement that the 10% set aside would be in the other buildings. So to the extent that that is not part of what we were considering, that they will still be required under their own ordinances to create the affordable housing as part of the market rate housing, then I could vote for this. But if it was to displace the 10% set aside in the other buildings, then I would vote against it.
This development, as opposed to the one across the street, 11 Garden Street, this development has no connection to any market rate developments in terms of providing affordability that meets those. The city
And we
nurse
will
up
put a
there-
provision in our deed restriction that
Yeah.
prohibits their ability to sell any units to a market rate developer.
Right. There is no plan for that. It's not in the financing. It's nowhere in this development. This development is completely standalone.
The other thing that I've come to like for apartment complexes that are all affordable is a greater range of incomes. So we've had a project that in Peaksville under construction that goes from 40 to 80% of AMI. And I think in terms of creating a healthy place, because that 80% of the AMI is a pretty good income. And so so to the extent that if you're locked in on the 50% and 60% AMI, okay. What I would prefer, what I think is a better way to provide affordable housing, long-term, stable rental. I think the 40, 50, 60, 70% of the AMI is the way to go. You have to still, on average, come below 60%. So that you fit within the county's rules.
Yeah, I mean, the developer, they basically wanted to stay in the 50 to 60% because their feeling was getting up into the 80, 90%, they're getting too close to the market rate. And they didn't really feel they wanted to compete with, that affordable housing should compete with the market rate housing.
But that is one of the changes since you last saw this. Originally, this development was entirely
100%,
at 60%. And we did encourage
So
them to.
20% now is at 50%.
Right.
The one advantage here is that the county's AMI is so high that 60% of AMI is is still a pretty good salary. I agree with you, it's good to have a range, but it's good that they at least got some down to 50. Might be nice if some were a little bit higher, but any other questions, comments?
Yeah, just to make the point that this is a family court. You have kids in the building, interacting, coming and going in that building. You have a parking lot that the kids may find themselves in, and you may have potential individuals who may be problematic, going to court, interacting with those youth. Not having the parking lot separated could lead to other problems.
I mean,
Well, theoretically, they can't use that parking lot during business hours. They can only use that parking lot in the family court area after business hours or on weekends. Is that correct?
well, on the shared spaces, yes, but there is some parking that's underneath, but that's reserved
So
for the
some of the
residential.
parking specifically for this housing is also under the family court building?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
but
well, that then
probably
relates
could
to
be-
what Bernie was
That
saying.
probably can be, I have to look at the plans, that probably could be segregated off, or it is because it's a separate condominium unit, so it might have its own, it might be fenced off, et cetera, from like what Bernie was saying earlier.
Yeah,
Because that's an
don't-
actual separate condominium unit, so it's not technically part of the court structure. So most likely it'll be separated somehow,
But if the
fenced,
parking,
something.
if it's all together, open, you have that issue.
Right. They're shared, yes, that one could have some mix, so to speak, mixing. But the other reserve parking should be separated.
Any other questions? Well, we can either take a motion to approve or disapprove the use of new homeland acquisition funds, $5 million for this project, or ask,
Resolution, so.
or ask for additional comments. There is a resolution in your package which calls for the approval. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second it.
As soon as I can find it.
James, you're seconding it? Okay, Clyde's moving it. Okay, all in favor, raise your hands. Let's get a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed? No, raise your hands.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay. You, many, you voted
I vote yes.
yes? Okay, so all yes except for one abstention. Okay, this is a complicated issue, and hopefully New Rochelle is not going to come back with another similar situation. Okay, next matter, BPL 26 Grassy Spring Reservoir Dam Rehabilitation, City of Yonkers, amendment to the Planning Board report on the 2021 capital project requests.
Good morning. Nice sunny day to talk about flood mitigation. After a long rainy weekend, so this will be great. Before you have the planning board report and 2 resolutions for projects under BPL 26. BPL 26 is a general capital project, so when we do capital budget amendments, it's to add the project locations to the project. If you see from the fact sheet that's included in your packet, there's plenty of money in there. There's well over $10 million in there. I think we probably expended between $8 and $9 million of that $20 million that you see appropriated. So there's plenty of money in there, particularly for these 2 projects, which are relatively small. So we're just going to be doing resolutions to add those capital projects or add those projects to this capital project. We'll figure out the final numbers once we have some more discussions with Public Works and some of the other folks involved. So the first is to actually complete a project that's already underway in the city of Yonkers. It's the rehabilitation of the dam at the Grassy Spring Reservoir. This project was actually a subject of an order on consent from the DEC. The DEC has been doing dam evaluations throughout the county, and this is not uncommon. There's a number of dams that the DEC is getting involved in. The total project cost was about $1.75 million. The city is looking for a portion of the cost to complete the project, which is about $500,000. So they're requesting $250,000 from this program. We typically add a little bit of additional money to the bond act to cover some staff, some administrative costs and staff review. So, but the remaining project components are very minor and comparative to the overall project. They're looking to extend. They had to replace an emergency valve, which was stuck basically. So they had to replace that, make some repairs to that. These remaining components will give them the ability to control that valve from the top of the dam. So they won't actually have to go down into a chamber in order to manually control the valve structure. So these components, and there's a small list of them in the packet. In your packets, you will have the application form and then the project narrative as well. So the project narrative for this does have those remaining components for that. Again, they're asking for $250,000. The BPL 26 provides up to a 50% match of locally proposed flood mitigation projects. So, so that's what they're asking for, and that's what they are providing. And, there's also an aerial map of the dam. Yes.
So I saw the numbers 17 foot, like the flood water to a depth of 17 feet.
All the dams have to have an emergency action plan. The emergency action plan shows if this dam were to breach, it would flood everything downstream, all the way down to the Bronx River. So there would be significant flooding, particularly higher in the area just south of the dam or just downstream of the dam, along the parkway, industrial, commercial areas, and then residential areas further downstream.
The original resolution that was sent out had a dollar amount. They were asking for, and the application says they're asking for $250,000.
Yes.
In our package, the resolution doesn't have a dollar amount.
Yeah, again, we typically don't put the dollar amounts in at this point because we will, and it'll become more apparent in the next with the next project. Because we're just making the capital budget amendment is really just to add the project to the project location to the capital project. But you're not asking for any more money to be added to BPL 26.
We were asking for a certain amount to be reserved from the existing balance.
Yes, but even that number hasn't been finalized yet. Again, we typically, this one is rather small, so we'll probably add about $20,000 for administration to that, so it'll be about $270,000. A request to the Board of Legislators for the bond act. The other project, which I'll discuss in a minute, is a little bit more complicated. So we may have to do some more additional review. We may have to have some further conversations with the municipality to finalize those numbers, make sure that they're okay. If you may remember, in 2018 was the last time we came to the board for capital budget amendments for two projects. One of which was the replacement of the Hillside Avenue Bridge in the village of Mamaroneck. That project, they were asking for $1 million for a $4 million project, approximate numbers. That went over budget. So, so it's nice to have, we like to double check numbers with municipalities to make sure that their cost estimates are accurate, and we don't want to, because we don't really like going back to the board to ask for another $200,000 or $300,000. We like to get it all done at once. So we don't have to spend everything we ask for, but we definitely don't like going back and asking for more money.
When the Board of Legislators approves adding this to the capital budget, are they going to have a number?
Yes, definitely.
They are, because they'll actually get a bond act.
Yeah, we'll actually be going for a bond act at that time. Right. And that will actually have a final number. And again, with this project, it'll probably be $270,000.
So, but we're sort of approving a blank check.
Yes, because you're really the capital budget amendment is really to ask to add the project to the capital project.
But that's the scope. It's not, well, you're not finalizing the number. It'll be 200, in the 250, 270 range.
Yeah.
We actually got two resolutions. One that was mailed out had 270,000 in it, and then the one meeting package does not have that number in it.
Right.
So I guess the decision was better to take that number out.
Yeah, we've done that in the past. The planning board resolutions have not had any numbers in there, again, because there's well over $10 million. So we're not asking to add any money to the capital project.
I think our concern, first off, is that the reason they're here in the first place is because they're already over their budget, and that's why they actually need more money, and that's why they're coming to us. And so that's why before we lock into a number, we just want to be sure that this is exactly the amount that they need. Okay, their guess was that they needed 250, but we just want to be on the safe side.
Yeah, and for your information, both of these projects were presented to the County Stormwater Advisory Board, which has just been recently reconstituted, which met last Wednesday, and they approved both projects.
They refill the dam, but they got to pick up all the golf balls before they...
We'll see. Golf ball sale, yeah.
So your name again is?
Dave Kaminga. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. Dave Kaminga, Director of Environmental Planning.
And like, how iterative is the back and forth communication with Yonkers and Paul Summerfield?
Very intimate. Paul is actually a member of the Stormwater Advisory Board, and he was a former county employee in Public Works. So we have a very good relationship with the city's engineering department, and we've had a lot of conversation with them about this.
Thank you.
Now, they've been working out there for years.
Yes.
Is the whole project cost only $1,750,000 for all that year's worth of work?
Yeah, approximately. It's not a lot of work, but it's very detailed and very time consuming. Okay. And then it requires a lot of inspections from DC.
Okay, there's a resolution in your package. Someone want to make a motion to approve the resolution? Rob, someone want to second it? Dwight? In favor, raise your hands, please. Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Next one is BPL 26 Upper Nickel Dam Removal, Town of Newcastle, amendment to the Planning Board report on 2021 capital project requests.
Yes, this is the second project for which we're asking for capital budget amendment to add the project to BPL 26. This is to decommission the dam and the Upper Minkle Pond in the town of Newcastle. The Upper Minkle Pond flows into the Lower Minkle Pond, which is actually, most of it is in the town of Ossining. The emergency action plan for this dam, or actually both of these dams, shows some significant flooding. Should this dam breach, it would likely take out the next dam downstream in the Lower Minkle Pond, and then cause flooding in the area. There's also a lot of recurring flooding in this area to begin with. So the town, after looking at some different options and discussing with the community, came to the conclusion that decommissioning the dam here would make the most sense, not only technically, but a risk reduction, and then also from a cost-effective standpoint. The entire dam's not going to be removed. They're just going to be removing enough of the dam to allow passage of the 100-year storm. So they're not allowed to actually increase flood heights by more than 1 foot whenever they do these dam decommissioning projects. So they're going to be taking that down just enough, and they're still working out some of the final details with the DEC in the design of the dam. They will be restoring basically the pond that exists now. They'll be restoring that to a wooded wetland, so that will be become a floodplain, and the naturally beneficial functions of those floodplain would be restored. So this is the Upper Minkle Dam is located within the Sunny Ridge Preserve, which is town open space. So that's it, and this is a little bit of a more difficult project because we're at this point. They do have design plans completed. They haven't not yet been approved by the DEC. So we really don't have enough information to prepare a seeker for the entire project. We will likely be splitting this up into 2 separate bond acts, one for design, and then once we get some final cost estimates, we'll come back and go to the Board of Legislators for construction. We're asking you to add the project to the capital project so we don't have to go through the whole process but we'll keep you informed as to the progress. We will also probably adding, like I said before, about administrative costs, we're probably adding a little bit more, actually significantly more than $20,000, so that county staff and our engineers can review their engineering documents and make sure that we're making the right decision with respect to the alternatives to decommissioning the dam.
Does this Upper Mickle Pond connect to that pond in Ossining surrounded by the houses?
Yeah, that's the lower Mickle, and that's where most of the flood risk is associated. So this will reduce that, and by keeping you'll see on some of the other pages after the aerial, you'll see some more graphics of the dam. There's one that has a couple of yellow lines. Those are actual physical structures. They're almost like dam structures. They're levees. They're going to all remain. So in really, really big storms, that will back up and fill up and almost act like some type of a stormwater, a little bit of a flood retention aspect to that.
So will the water level in the lower pond be increased by 1 foot?
No. Only in smaller storms it will go up slightly, but no.
Because those houses will look like they're like 10, 15 feet
Yeah,
away from
the normal water levels will not change.
So you're going to be able to absorb all the water that was held back of the dam in the Pine Woods Reservation?
No, what happens right now is that when the upper pond is full, and any floodwaters that come over just go over the dam into the lower pond. So this should actually attenuate some of that flooding. Again, for those smaller storms.
Any questions? There's a resolution in our package to approve this capital project request. I have a motion. Kathy, second. Amanda. All in favor, raise your hands. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is at least just to get some background on the capital project request for 2022. The ones we just went over were for 2021, which is the year we're in now. You have in the package, and you've gotten by email, a whole bunch of projects that are proposed for 2022. We are going to be meeting again next Tuesday at 9. We'll be meeting virtually, is that correct?
Right, WebEx, yep.
Can I have a show of hands of how many people are going to be able to make that meeting?
Great.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay, Bill, why don't you give us a little...
Just a little teaser for next week. Again, Richard said we have this a few brief slides. After the cover, we've got a little description about what your role is, just to review that. And you're focusing on the physical aspects of projects in the 5-year capital program, but we're really focusing, and your board focuses on next year, 2022. And that's what's primarily in your report, are descriptions of each of those projects for next year. A little bit of the timeline, you're required to submit by September 10th, though we usually do it at the July meeting. By September 10th, submitting your planning board report, approved by you, to the county executive, the budget director, and the capital projects committee. The next page is a little table breaking down some of the numbers that have been submitted this year. So you'll see that the total projects that were submitted, requested for just 2022, were the top line $503 million were requested. So that's a large amount. It's larger by about $200 million larger than last year, which was submitted. Again, this is the requests. That will likely get further cut down as it's reviewed by capital work group, capital projects committee, county executive. Projects sometimes get added to that, but likely every year that number goes down. Again, as you know, the county departments have been working to keep up with the backlog, keep up with deteriorated infrastructure. So a lot of these projects are that kind of, that's what the nature of those projects are, substantial infrastructure type projects. Also included are things like our affordable housing development funds, those two projects as well. So again, that's a summary of what was submitted this year. We're going to dive into that all next week at this time. So the last slide, the next steps, just real briefly. Again, we're working on the draft planning board report with you. We're having our special meeting next week. We're asking that you provide all your comments either before or after the meeting, but we're trying to pull them together by June 15th. We're then going to develop a revised draft planning board report and send that to you in time for you to take a final look at and hopefully adopt at the July 8th planning board meeting. So that's kind of our time frame. After that, we transmit it for you to the Capital Projects Committee, which includes the county executive, board of legislators, various commissioners like the commissioners on your board here. Then during the fall, the county executive proposes his capital budget. The board of legislators then reviews the capital budget and then proposes their capital program, capital budget by the end of the year, by the end of December. And then the budget is approved. So that's really in a nutshell what the process is going forward. So you're more than welcome to call us with any kind of questions. Sometimes it's just clarifying a project here and there. You can give us the comments before the meeting. Some of you did that last year in writing. You can ask all your questions on it at next week's meeting. That's fine too. So we'll take all your comments, make the revisions in the draft planning board. Any questions at this point? Yes.
Yeah. So this board is to make recommendations on a 5-year capital budget as well as the next year 2022 capital budget. And we had recommended in the past several years going over this that a capital budget should be spread out over 5 years. If it's all in the first year or in the second year, it's not really a 5-year capital budget anymore. And looking at the long sheets, they're not long anymore.
Right.
The county share in 2022 proposed is $282 million. In 2023 is proposed $281 million. In 2024, $24 million. In 2025, $13 million. And in 2026, 0. So that is not exactly a 5-year spread. And I know you've had to catch up on all these projects that were in the past that had never gone ahead. And I know that's put a lot of departments, behind the 8 ball to try to do it. But I still think this doesn't really become a 5-year capital budget until we have a better spread amongst the 5 years. And I don't know if there's anything that can be done about it at this point. I'm sure that everything in 2022 is urgent and everything in 2023 is urgent and can't wait till 2024, 25, 26. But at some point, we need to rebalance.
Sure. Just related to that, the planning staff, the commissioner of planning, the budget director, and the county executive's office, and then public works, we sit on the capital work group. We've already coached departments along the way just to get to this point. That work group in the next 2 months will work to talk to the departments, see if there's any of them that can get pushed out a couple of years, and that will happen over the next couple of months. So by the time it gets to the summer meeting of the Capital Projects Committee, this will be a little bit more evened out. But again, a big theme, as I mentioned before, it's catching up with deferred projects that have happened over the past decade.
Can you give us for our meeting next Tuesday some indication about the total amount of deferred projects that we're catching up on? If there's a dollar amount or projects that...
We can kind of give an overview of where we are in that process. Over the past several years, we've done this many, what percentage of the projects are deferred type projects that have been increased.
Even in approved budgets, there have been a lot of projects that have just not moved forward. Right. And that's really what our focus of catch-up has been.
I'm looking at, again, on the long sheet under the county, this is under the main portion, only 37% of the amount appropriated in the past on these projects has actually been obligated. So that means that over the years, this goes back years, still only 37% of that has been obligated. So there's a lot of capital projects that are hanging in there.
Yeah, some of that's not.
Right, the problem, just going, I agree with you, it should be a longer looking at the bigger 5-year plan, but my experience being on this work group is a lot of departments are still catching up. Many of these projects, the reason why they aren't appropriated is because there's not enough money that was put in originally in 2015 to do the project in 2022. Costs have gone through the roof. So that interesting request, Richard. How many of the projects are we just adding money because we'll get to that. The county is so busy right now trying to fix the backlog that they can't look past 5. They can't even look the year after next. I mean, there's so much to do. But I agree with you 100%. But this work group is trying to encourage some of the departments, DEF, their projects are big, and the more you look into some of these old facilities, the more you find. So the prices are going to go up. It actually sometimes it creates another capital project because you were tasked to do this. So it's going to take time. I think we've made significant progress in getting some of these projects without looking at all the departments. But it's not, you have to look at doing an analysis and inventory of what we have, when this was replaced. We don't have the staff, many departments don't have the staff to have that liberty to look, okay, let's plan for the next 10 years. We're still catching up, but. Okay.
We'll have a nice summary of that picture of capital projects over the years.
Any other questions or comments people would like to see information for next Tuesday that'll help clarify it? Okay.
Thank you, and we appreciate all your input and help. Thanks.
Any other business? Do we have any other business?
We want to let Kathy and the Commissioner of Parks here give you an overview of Ridge Road, where you are, and parks in general.
Since some of us might not know where we are. Sorry. Thank you, and welcome to Ridge Road Park. First Deputy Peter Tataglia is here too. So together we should be able to answer any questions that you have. This is one of 4 that the superintendent oversees. This cluster is Ridge Road Park, V.E. Macy Park, the Cantina and the Hunger Memorial, which isn't far from here, and then Sprain Ridge Park, which is pool, picnicking, etc. This particular park just went through a huge renovation. You happen to be sitting in the newest pavilion. There was a pavilion here. It was shot, so a capital project that just was completed a brief time ago. Brand new roof, as you can see. You're sitting in brand new tables. I told them, do not give us the tables that you can get splinters on. We'll never hear the end of it. But anyway, so this is all brand new. And to be honest with you, with the amount of use that we get, this superintendent does a wonderful job, and basically it looks like this most of the time. I was asked if these can be rented. Of course, that's our big revenue stream, which obviously was really shut down last year. These are rented. This is one of 3 spots. This park is big, and we're only in a little part of it. If you have time before you leave, when you go out, take a look. When you go out this way, take a look to the right and go through that parking lot. That, for those of you that don't know, that's the Miracle Field, and it was a miracle because, typical of county projects, Andy Spano was the county executive. There's a long story behind it, but that was built in 9 months. Unheard of. We'd like to have Playland built in 9 months and all the other things that we have. But anyway, it is a fabulous little stadium which has a rubberized format, and it's utilized predominantly for the Miracle League. And it's Evan Latainer and his crew, for children or people with disabilities, are able to play baseball there. It's really fabulous. We've used it for wiffle ball, little tournaments that we've had, so it's great. Right next to it, we were, actually years ago, we were asked by parents of children with disabilities, could you redo the playground so that, Jimmy and Mary can get on the playground? You gotta see the playground. It's ADA accessible. This was also redone too, but the one next to the Miracle Field, you gotta just go over and look. You can get on it in a wheelchair, a walker, crutches, or regular, and it's state of the art. The pour and play base is what we're doing everywhere. We just finished another fabulous playground at Wilson's Woods, and rather than the wood chips that we had 100 years ago, or sand, or dirt, it's now pour and play. It's a very awesome surface that once it sets, if you fall on it, you're not as prone to breaking anything, so thank God. It's also easily cleanable because we also have, as you just saw, a woman walk by, thank God the dogs were on a leash, but she had 4 dogs. We have people that their jobs are to walk people's dogs. That's fine, but here in particular, maybe they know we're here, people come in a van, open up a van door, and 7 dogs come out off leash. And unfortunately, they go right to the wood chips, they go to the bathroom, everywhere, or they scare kids or scare the public. So it is just one of the things that we deal with on a regular basis. Periodically, the county police come in and give out citations, but you can imagine how that goes. But anyway, back to here, it's utilized on a regular basis. Everybody asked me about the tent. Salute to Seniors, which is a senior citizen program, and a really fun thing that we do every year through May Carpenter's department. Usually get about 1,500 seniors at the county center, where they also are able to pick up information on anything related to anything. They can get medical help, they can get financial help, legal help. As you well know, the county center is being utilized as a vaccination site. 287,000 people have been vaccinated, which is pretty cool. We miss the county center, but that's a good thing that they're doing. But anyway, we had it out here, so we broke it up into 4 separate Salute to Seniors. So about 300 seniors came last week. It was an absolutely perfect weather day, which was great. The showmobile was here, we had live music, and they had a ball. And of course they're saying, we don't want to go back to the county center. That's great. That's great if you have a perfect day. But if you have the weekend that we just had, 47 degrees and raining, then it would be a problem. But that's why the tent is here. It just has to be taken out. But we've done many, many things here. We have the Irish Ethnic Festival here. We have family picnics here. The bathroom was just redone and painted, and it looks great. But we're very excited about this facility. As you heard me say many, many times, and certainly not because of me, but through the pandemic, the public came out in droves. We had, and it's a real number, just the beaches and pools last summer, we had 300,000 public people coming to our facilities. And what we're really proud of, knock on wood, see, they all heard me, they all have leashes. As soon as she turns the corner, they're off. We had 0 contact tracing back to the Parks Department. We're about 28,000 rounds ahead of where we were even last year in golf. Golf has exploded. We have people walking. Kensico Dam looks like we have an event almost every weekend. Just people are coming out, which is really awesome for Peter and me, and for the department, and for the county. County executive talks about it all the time, which is a really good thing for us, that when everything else was going to hell, people did come out. We got wonderful comments from people saying, you saved my life, a little dramatic, or you made me feel normal. We just went and walked, rode our bikes. Bicycle Sunday started a couple of weeks ago. We're going straight through the summer, 22 Sundays, and ending in Halloween. So we're getting thousands. So we can't even calculate how many, but we have thousands and thousands of people coming out. We changed the reservations. It was 50 as of last week. You can rent this place now, all our outside things, up to 150. I know the CDC says differently. We really are going by the governor and then by the county executive. And Peter and I really want to walk before we run, because this can hold 350 people, 400 people. What happens in a lot of our facilities, especially down like at Glen Island, they rent it for 300 and 700 come. And it makes it very difficult. So we're keeping it on the low just to get everybody back. They're happy about the 150. Our staff is still using masks if they're in a car together, but obviously outside it's much healthier. So basically that's where we are here. Please come back again. We rent it through our permit office, and we're very happy to be able to provide this amenity to the people that live in Westchester County. Any questions?
How is that supervised, Kathy, to limit the amount of people? Let's say you have a limit of 150. How do you prevent 300 people from showing up?
Well, it's interesting. In some cases, Glen Island and Croton Point Park can absorb a lot of people. So when, actually at Glen Island 2 years ago, what we ended up doing is if it was 350 that they were approved for, anything over that, we gave out 350 wristbands. Anything over that, they had to pay $10 a person. That helped. Although, ironically, people were happy to pay, they just wanted to be there. Places like George's Island, which was just redone, our facilities can't handle 800 people at a time, something like that. The bathroom facilities, forget it. So we really get involved with the police. Police do help us. What's hard is that Kathy O'Connor can book it, and I do everything wrong the day that I'm here. But, so we say, okay, don't ever give it back to Kathy O'Connor, but then Peter rents it. It's the same group, different name, so it's very hard. Our staff is good, they're really good, although we really don't promote them getting in somebody's face. It's not fair. You know, sometimes they're 17 years old, 18 years old, they have the green shirt on, the khaki pants, and now they're telling a group that's having a party, sorry, there's too many people here. Yeah, you can imagine how well that goes. We do have specials. They're the young men and women in light blue shirts that are hired through the public safety department. They have a little bit more power. They don't wear a weapon. They have a uniform. They look a little bit more policey, and some are better than others. But it isn't easy. We just have to really stay on top of it. But for the most part, people are good. I'm just looking around, something else, just a minor detail. Everybody decorates, and I don't think we have in our form a deposit that I don't want everybody's streamers left here or all the stapling. That's when it looks like hell in 6 months. So I just wrote a note to myself that we're not going to add on a cleaning deposit. If it doesn't look like the way you came in, you're not getting your money back.
That's a good idea.
So that's why I go out to the parks. I see things. Any other questions?
How many acres is this?
I knew you were going to ask me that. That's Peter's question. We don't know. A lot.
Was it a private owned property before the county took it?
No, I don't believe so.
We acquired this 30s or 40s.
Yeah. What's interesting is Macy Park over in Ardsley and Sprainridge, and the Hunger Memorial, that was all one, and then the Sprain was developed through it, so cut it in half.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. How do you get the parks permit now? Is there where do you go to get it?
All the golf courses, you can get a park permit.
You have to go to the golf course?
Yeah, or you come to our office, you can.
Okay.
That's basically not out here yet. You know, we don't have the ability, they don't have that in their offices yet. So, but the golf courses,
okay.
Normally it would be the county center. Obviously, we're not doing that. Yes.
Ridge Road is 236 acres.
I was going to say 200. Okay, good. Thank you.
Acquired, it's going to be early 19.
Gee, you could put a lot of affordable housing in.
Don't laugh. Other people have discussed, why don't we just sell that golf course? We could build a whole lot of
Bernie?
You guys do a great job. Whenever I bring my relatives into Westchester to visit, and we go to the parks, it's just always a great places to go. So I'd like to kudos for that.
Well, thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
In addition, I've had the opportunity to, and I'm quite sure many of you have also, stop at the county center to wait for the traffic light to change. And seeing the work that's being done on the Bronx River right there is just...
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It is.
And I have to commend the planning department for all that is done and all of this work done. It is getting the education to understand what's being done there is tremendous. And I just like to pat you guys on the back. It's just fantastic work that's being done.
I remember when that capital project came before this board.
Yes,
beautiful.
signage is coming.
Really
Some additional signage is coming. Yeah.
Great work.
It is gorgeous.
Why are we putting signs for people they're supposed to be paying attention to it.
No, there's people walking, there's a walking trail right next to it.
Yeah.
No, and the light is long, especially when the police are controlling it. I was just going to offer too, at another time, I can certainly talk to Richard and Norma. The history of the Parks Department, again, long before Peter and me, is really interesting. It is amazing what was bought in the 1920s and 30s, that the people had the wherewithal. That's where we bought the majority of the property that we have. We haven't added acres and acres and acres in the last, 10, 15 years. It's really beautifully done. Gigi Carnes is our county historian curator. She works up at Lasden. And she's provided a really cool history. She's done from zero to about the 1957, and then from like 1960 to now. If you ever want to see it, I can work out a deal, or we can do something online. But it's really very interesting. Mohansick Golf Course is our oldest facility. Trailside Museum up at Ward Pound Ridge is the oldest nature center in the country. The VRP reservation is the longest, oldest linear park in the country. I mean, on and on and on. The history is just really awesome, which is all the more reason why we so appreciate all the work that planning, DPW, and we do together, because we need to make it better and better and better for, as they said, our children and grandchildren. So, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
I have a question. Would it be possible to get an overview of all the units that are being built along the 287 corridor? Because there's just so much going on, and I feel like we haven't
So
seen.
you want an update on
Yeah,
the
there's.
287 corridor?
Just alone in our resolution today, there were like 1,000 units. I mean, some of it's.
Yeah, that's fine.
Portchester, we've
It's not
talked
just the
about.
teardrop now. It's
Right, the teardrop.
Now it's plain side.
Right, there's, it's kind of expanded beyond that teardrop area.
Right. It's a lot.
Unfortunately, not always with plans, it's just kind of active in some ways.
But I think it would just be nice to have an overview of all these units that are being built and how it's going to affect the traffic and everything, because, with COVID, the traffic has been much lighter, but I think we're going to get slammed like another year or two.
Yeah, so they said the traffic's back.
And it's back, but it's going to be a lot more.
There was another, in our referral today, there was another.
I know,
another project.
there's really thousands of units that.
So just a couple of items. Norma, you mentioned the bus stop inventory that was happening. Is there a way to push that out to the municipalities to get input? That would be great. And then the database of affordable housing, I too did not, even though I'm supposed to be looking at it every couple of days, I did not see that. So if that link could come out to us. Thank you. That's it.
Good.
Richard, can I just add one quick thing? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Through the work of a lot of people, including the chairman of the Parks Board, Henry Neal, who is a pit bull when he gets on a certain topic, Croton Gorge Fountain has been off for over a decade for a lot of reasons, and then when work is being done on the dam up there, Croton Dam, it wasn't turned on. Anyway, long story short, working with Vinny's counterpart in New York City, DEP, and the Parks Department, and et cetera, we actually turned it on last Thursday with the county executive. I gave him a fake valve, and for once,
Fake valve?
well, yeah, he can't go into the dam, but every once in a while things work out. First of all, the county executive had never been to Croton Gorge, and he's been everywhere, as you well know. And it was another gorgeous, gorgeous day, and the facility is just phenomenal. And literally we did a 3, 2, 1, and he turned the fake valve, and the fountain went on. At 14%, the fountain went up 20 feet. At 100%, they said it goes to the top, it could almost go to the top of the dam. Needless to say, I didn't want that. And it really looks phenomenal. If you haven't been there, guys, once again, go up during the week. On the weekends, it is mobbed. We close it, we had to close even yesterday, there's no parking. So go up on your off time, Monday through Friday. It really, the fountain will be on till October, so.
Is the swimming area open?
No, there's no swimming there. Not in Croton.
There used, oh.
Croton Point Park.
Oh, Croton Point.
Oh, yeah, no, the beach is open, our beach is open Saturday.
The gorge used to have an area.
Hopefully no one's swimming in the fountain, that's my
Not the
biggest.
fountain.
Is the gorge open to the public?
Pardon me?
The gorge is, you could have
Oh, sure.
pictures of that, I've never been there.
Oh, yeah, and you can go up on top of the dam, the vista is unbelievable.
Is there public parking?
Yeah, there's public parking in the gorge, but it's limited, and, you know, last year we had 129 we don't own, and people were parking in people's driveways to get into the gorge, so that was fun.
Sounds like a 26 capital project.
To build a parking structure there. Oh, excuse me. But anyway, it is fabulous, and it's just another wonderful amenity.
Can I have a motion to adjourn? Rob, second. Holly, all in favor, raise your hands. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next month, whether we're outdoors, virtual, someplace else.